Hello, I'm Don Mooers. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The opioid epidemic in Montgomery County and Maryland and all across this nation is a matter of extreme urgency. Steve Chaikin, former assistant state's attorney of Montgomery County and founder of Speak Up, Save a Life, is on a mission to save lives. Montgomery County Public School System has just issued its capital budget for the coming year. Jane DeWinter, who comments on education issues on a regular basis for this show, is here to tell us all about what this budget contains. Now that Halloween is over, all of Montgomery County is turning their thoughts to the upcoming holiday season. Chuck Short, Special Assistant to County Executive Ike Leggett, is here to explain what the county is looking forward to as far as the holiday season is concerned. Montgomery County has not produced this large number of candidates for office in many years. Candidates are getting in line for next year's county and state elections. Linna Barnes, associate producer of this very program, who also thankfully comments on a regular basis on the show, is going to tell us where we stand at the moment, what we can expect from this large group of candidates, whether it's going to get larger as we get closer to the election. Steve, welcome. Tell us.
Thank you.
About this is your first time on the show.
Great to be here.
Well, and I'm sorry that we're having to talk about this awful epidemic. We hear about this opioid epidemic. What does that mean to us here in Montgomery County?
Well, we're in a crisis. The governor's declared a state of emergency. The president's talking about it. Last year in Maryland, 2,100 people died from an overdose, and we only had 500 homicides. People are dying at an alarming rate. So we're getting together the private sector, multiple government agencies, and centered around the new Good Samaritan law. We're going out in the community. We're trying to identify people that need help. We want to get them the resources, but ultimately we want people to speak up and save lives.
Okay, well speak up, save lives. We had talked, you were at the Bar Association of Montgomery County presenting with one of the beneficiaries of this effort. I was so impressed by that and what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about this Speak Up, Save Lives program.
So our state's attorney, John McCarthy, and our police chief, Tom Manger, and the Bar Association president ultimately started Speak Up, Save a Life, and we've driven it to the point now where we have literally dozens of volunteers that are going out in the community, and our goal is to educate people about the crisis, to look out there in the street level narcotics. Doctors are overprescribing. We need to look at our own families and look at our friends who needs help, and we need to get them help. The government has a compelling interest to save lives rather than prosecute people for a small misdemeanor crime.
So you're talking about this new Good Samaritan law. What's that?
So really, if people are at a party, for example, and somebody gets sick, in the old days they'd say, he'll be fine, she'll be fine, let him sleep it off. Now we're telling people the drugs are so powerful. Call 911. You have immunity. If the police come and there's drugs or alcohol or paraphernalia going on, you won't be prosecuted. You have immunity. Why? Because we want to save lives, not prosecute people.
Well, I know that because there's the drug that you can give now that all police officers carry with them. It's in many places.
Naloxone and Narcan is being all fire and rescue, and about 120 of our officers are carrying it now, and they're literally on the street saving lives. There's also a whole team that goes out after each overdose to investigate where the drug came and holistically approach the addict's issue and help the family and the addict with resources. Not prosecution, resources.
Steve, I just wonder why this has become a crisis in the last few years. We've had drugs around this country for decades. What's caused this incredible crisis?
It's probably a combination of a number of factors. One, you think about doctors overprescribing. Two, you think about narcotics laws not being enforced. And it's a deadly combination when somebody is overprescribed a drug, then the prescription ends, and they're transitioning to now street-level narcotics. Whether it's on the internet or on the street, they're trying to compensate for the lack of prescription drugs with street drugs. Problem is the street drugs are mixed with fentanyl or carfentanil, and they're snorting, shooting, or smoking something. They have no idea what that chemical is. And we look around, we see people walking around sick, we see people that are addicted. They have brain injuries. We can't just lock them up, they have brain injuries.
So this is kind of, may not be PC, but some people might respond that one of the reasons why this is such a crisis right now is because it's white people or middle class people. And so, it's hitting, where people who have a voice actually live and et cetera, as opposed to something like crack in the 80s.
In the 80s.
And 90s. Yeah.
This drug and this epidemic discriminates against nobody. If you can hear our voices today, this issue is in your home, your family, and your neighborhood. So when I hear people say, well, where were we in the 80s when the crack epidemic was going on? I say, well, we're sorry about that, but here we are now in 2018, 2017. We need to do something now. That's why we're going out to educate. There are new laws being passed for education in schools, education in the community, for doctors to be monitored on where they're prescribing, and so people can't run around to one pharmacy and another pharmacy with a doctor's prescription. We're trying to get a hold of it. We can't go back to the 80s, but we're trying to go forward and save lives. And unless we do something as a group, individually, and as a community, these numbers will continue to grow. The numbers are sick. 66% increase in overdoses from last year to this year.
You've got 4 people here, and plus the crew that's here. We've got a viewing audience. Tell us, what do you want us to do? How can we help with your efforts?
Number one, we want everyone to go home and look at their prescription and their medicine cabinets. If you have expired prescriptions, we want you to discard them appropriately, whether it's taking them to the police station. It's not flushing them down the toilet. It's not letting a neighbor or a friend have it. But literally look at the prescription drugs.
About 40 seconds left.
Monitor your relatives that are getting prescription drugs. And then ultimately look around. You know someone that has an addiction, whether it be alcohol or drugs, and we want to try to find resources for people. We want to start with young people, middle schools and high schools, all the way up to senior citizens. This is ageless discrimination. Yeah, 20 to 29 is an audience that's overdosing at a high rate, but these numbers are across the board from teenagers to senior citizens.
And people have got to get used to living with a little bit more pain, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the bottom, you rinse your back, you're onto these opioids, and then you're addicted and
It's true. We take doctors with us to do and they tell us that we need more exercise and eating healthy.
Right.
We don't need a pill to fix all of our problems. Sometimes we do, though, but we need to be careful of the drugs we're taking.
We're glad you're on this, Steve, and give our best to the state's attorney and to everyone else who's working together on this effort. Hope to have you back.
We thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Hello there.
Hello.
Jane, welcome back.
Thank you.
Our education commentator, guru. A lot of times when we talk about classrooms, we talk about every so often when there's new senior staff and everything else. We're talking about a subject today, capital budget, that's often a yawner for folks. Capital budget. But isn't it about the very soul, the very essence of what our schools are going to be about in the future, where we are today and where we're headed tomorrow?
Right. Well, I mean, the people don't like, the numbers and the fact that the capital budget comes out and it's a 6-year plan and, it's funded by different things and people's eyes start to glaze over.
And it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's a lot of money. It is definitely a lot of money.
And it's just buildings.
Right. Well, but it's not just buildings. That's actually
160,000 students, though. 160,000 students.
161,000
Wait a minute, we talked about
students.
money here. What kind of money, what are we talking? We're talking about like $10 million, $5 million,
No,
half a million dollars?
I believe it was 1.8 billion or 1.18 billion.
So we're talking a lot of, we're talking,
over 6 years.
because over a billion, you start talking about real money.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, I haven't quite hit that yet, but yeah.
So what does this capital budget tell us about what the county is currently thinking about where our schools are going?
Right. Well, so let me just do one little blurb about
You
the
do
budget.
whatever.
So basically, a new capital budget comes out every 2 years.
Okay.
So this is a new one. Next year, so everything is up for consideration this year, and next year it'll just kind of be amendments, so just things that have changed. So this is a big year for people who follow this and advocate for it. And
Like
whatever.
you.
Yes. Well.
Keep going.
Anyway. So it's the money to spend in the next fiscal year as well as a 6-year plan.
Okay.
So it takes us through 2024, which is a scary.
So it's new schools, it's renovations,
it's
new
schools,
classrooms,
it's
what have you.
additions, it's whatever. And aside from the fact that the numbers are very big, I mean, it's a lot of money.
Right.
I think that I actually thought that there was a lot of just changes in the budget itself and how it was presented that people who haven't been following this stuff and reading the budget for 20 plus years might not pick up, but I could definitely tell it was some new personnel, new superintendent.
Interesting. Yeah, because I've been doing this for 30
longer
years.
than me. I know.
But it's interesting because I do remember when they came up with, have they changed this idea of how you rate schools in terms of when you want to renovate them? Or
Yes, there was a scoring system which probably came about when you
25
were-
years
yes.
ago or so.
And then about 10 years ago that it got updated, which is something I had started advocating for when I was president, and then of the PTA,
Right?
not the country. But now the superintendent is saying that they're going to look at that. They actually have engaged a consultant to go around and look at best practices, and they're going to be looking for something that better incorporates capacity needs and overcrowding, and just besides just the condition of the facility. And in fact, I think that they are expecting to make some changes in terms of ranking or prioritizing, because they've set aside a chunk of money to be allocated in the spring.
One of the challenges with the capital budget, it is real money.
Right.
One of the challenges is that in another guest month, the county executive will come out with his capital budget, which it will be for fire stations, libraries, rec centers, and that'll be another large chunk. I don't know exactly what it'll be, and it's very difficult.
Chuck, you do know what it's going to be, and you can share with us right now. We can make some real news,
Can't you
Chuck.
just tell us, Chuck?
But then you get into competition, don't you?
Well, there
Of
is
some money
there is competition for limited money, and the real impact. We need these things. There's no question. It's a growing school system. It's a growing county. We need fire stations. But the impact is, it's just like when you buy a home. The more we borrow, the more we have to pay in a mortgage every year. The more our debt service is.
Yeah.
Our debt service is over $100 million a year just in debt service. So that's why we try to live within our means to the extent we can, so we have more operating money to invest in.
Although if you're
About a minute
going
left.
to be talking about debt service, you would say this is the best possible time to go into debt, since interest rates are so low,
That's right.
and issue bonds. So you're
right.
not really necessarily gaining anything by waiting 5 years.
That's right.
How does our diverse population and our changing population, we have such a wonderful and diverse population here in Montgomery County, how does that affect the budget in terms of the needs for families that are just coming here and, they're coming here for the first time with language issues and all kinds of holistic issues?
Well, most of those are addressed within an operating budget, but it does make a difference in terms of, where people settle in the county. And so the demographics, there's been huge changes just in the distribution of not just minority students or, students of color, but poverty. And so that has made an impact on capacity issues because of smaller class size for schools impacted by poverty.
Yes or no? More mobile classrooms, fewer with these classes? Real quick, because we're out of time.
I think that it'll be the same or more. I mean, people have babies faster than you can
And
build
you can't
a new
make it
school.
perfect. we got to end here. We can come back on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
I didn't get to
And we're back. Chuck Short, welcome.
Thanks, Don.
You've done it all in the county. Now you're special assistant to the county executive. And, we're talking about the capital budget for schools and that has to do with redistricting as well, and this growth and the kind of political jockeying, talking about the opioid crisis and how awful it all is. But with you right now, you have to deal with all these on a daily basis. We're talking about the holidays.
Yeah.
We're talking
Isn't that
good
great?
news coming
That's
up.
right.
So this is our break.
Yeah.
You're our break, Chuck. And I love that smile. You're such a wonderful human being. Let's talk about what the holidays mean, what the county's going to be doing in looking at the holidays.
Well, this is such a wonderful county. Even though we have all these challenges, and we have huge challenges around poverty. We have 50,000 kids in our public school system who are qualified for free and reduced meals. 60,000. Think about that.
And you don't have to make too much money
That's
to
right.
qualify.
That's bigger than the city of Rockville, for example.
Sure.
So, but the good news piece of that is that we have a county that not only the government, but in particular the people that live in our county are so generous all year long in trying to be inclusive and to serve people who have economic challenges as best they can. So during the holiday time, and we sort of think of the holiday time around here from September through December, because we're lucky to have the Jewish holidays that are so festive during the early fall, and of course the more Christian
And
holidays.
you've got Diwali and others with a growing Hindu
Yeah.
population. You've got it's fantastic. The
So
whole
this is a good time from September until January to celebrate goodness, and what the county government tries to support that in a number of ways. We by no means are a leader in that. The real leadership here comes from the faith community.
Well, what are some of the organizations that have particularly impressed you, where we can all be contributing, helping? I know there's so many, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I was just going to say.
but as you're thinking through, I mean, this doesn't exclude others.
Yes.
But some of the ones that you've seen that have been interesting.
Well, we're blessed in the county to have so many, as you said, and it's hard to pick one or two or three, but to cite a few only because of the general area and their representative nature. We have an organization called A Wider Circle, which brings together about 400 volunteers. And I want to stress the participation. It's not just about writing the check, but it's bringing 400 people in. They specialize in two things: one, collecting furniture and distributing furniture to people who are formerly homeless or moving into a new home. So that's an important.
Right.
The other thing they specialize in is really advocating to end poverty.
Right.
Interfaith Works has been around for decades. It used to be known as Community Ministries of
Right.
Montgomery County, and they, of course, provide coordination among lots of faith-based organizations to provide a whole.
And they
range
have
of
their
services.
clothing store, which people can
that
go
right?
to. I mean, that's really always
drives.
Food drives.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I
Tremendous.
think Shane Rock, the president or executive
CEO.
talking about how do we go at and how are we eliminating that poverty
That's right.
is one of these exciting. So that's a couple of them. What else get you in the county? I know the county's been doing some things as well.
One of the things that the county has started doing, which I think is a great public service to both the general public who want to participate and volunteer, as well as the people who are in need, is the county, through its Department of Health and Human Services, has created a clearinghouse, essentially a coordinating place for holiday giving.
Great.
And there are we've divided the county up into zip codes. We've divided zip codes up into little administrative pieces.
Right.
And we've worked with faith-based and other partners to coordinate the many turkey programs that we give away
Great.
and the Christmas gift programs. It's been very successful.
We've got 40 seconds, so real quick fireside.
Just a quick question. I was at a local high school recently, and a parent came in that had a problem paying their bills, and I saw the school making phone calls, finding money through Montgomery County to help them pay their bills, even to get gifts and transportation. How is this possible that Montgomery County can help people like this?
Well, that's a great point, Steve, because first of all, it's not Montgomery County, it's our nonprofit community. The county government can do a little of that, but many of those student counselors and are calling a local faith-based organization or a nonprofit like Interfaith Works, who, because of the way they collect money, has an extra has $500 that they can provide that person to pay their utilities, and we have a lot of those.
Yeah, and I just was going to mention one more organization that I know
Real quick.
on your mind is Man of Food, because of course, collecting food, which
Yes.
is really necessary all year long, but they're,
A
it's
lot of volunteering
yeah.
opportunities with Men of Foods.
Yes,
Thanks.
that's what I was going to mention. We're talking here in total thousands of opportunities to volunteer, and I hope people volunteer.
And they can contact the county, that clearinghouse, if they don't know what to do, they can.
Two places: they can contact the clearinghouse for holiday giving, or they can always contact the volunteer center.
The Volunteer Center. Chuck, thank you so much. Look forward to continued success.
Great. Always
in
good to
all
be
of
with
your
you.
endeavors.
Thanks.
All right, guys. We've had some really interesting stories up to now. And now we're going to politics. No, we're not. It's interesting as well. Linna, I got Linna Barnes, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think I'm of two minds. When we've got lots of candidates coming in, and it seems to me, one part, a lot of ambitious folks running for office. What are they running for? But on the other side, it's exciting for me that many people are interested in public service.
Well,
It's fantastic.
You're right about that. A few weeks ago, we talked about the county executive
Exactly,
race,
right. Lots of people
and the
know
fact
already.
that there are 3 Democrats running, all of whom are termed out council members. And so they're running, plus one Republican is running.
And there's
But-
another Democrat declared. There's a couple other Democrats.
Well,
who are
those are the
talking
only
about
ones
this
that
next
have
time.
filed
Right.
so
Okay.
far. Just 3 Democrats and one Republican have filed.
And now we're talking about
But
the county
but
council.
we're talking about the county council. But 2 years ago, we had the a Robin Ficker initiative, which put term limits in.
Right.
And so the 3 county council at large seats are now open. Those 3.
So we have 4 total.
4
and
total.
The 3 of those 4.
But there's
are
only
open.
one incumbent. He is running. But the other 3 seats are opened. And so far, 20 Democratic candidates have filed for those seats. And because we're in Montgomery County, that Democratic primary, which takes place at the end of June, that really often decides who is going to
If we
go
look
on
back
and
at history.
serve. If we look at history,
Right,
who knows what will happen this time,
And there's
but
a
it
lot
has
more
happened in the
names
past.
floating around too. When is the filing deadline?
Filing deadline is not till February,
Yeah,
about 3 months in advance of
right.
the actual election. So there's a lot more time for people to file. And I have heard that actually 2 more Democrats have announced and set up campaign committees, but they haven't filed officially with
Right.
the state.
One of the things I noticed among all these candidates is how many younger candidates
Yes.
are in the race, and it excites me as a whole new generation of individuals are apparently, one way or another, going to take over from us.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right about that. When I look at the lists of names that have filed so far, there are a lot of people I don't recognize. Many of them I do. I mean, there are people that have filed before, but it's amazing the number of new people that are out there.
Why do you think this is? You think there's a frustration with the regular situation? They want change? Or why are things so different now?
Well, I think it's open seats. Whenever you have open seats, you get a lot people that
Opportunity
opportunity.
presents itself. If you don't jump in, then
Right.
then
this
you're never
might
going to have
not
the
happen for
opportunity.
another
Public
4
finance.
years. A lot of them, I mean, Jane makes a very good point about public financing. Montgomery County has a public finance provision now, and a number of people are applying for those funds or taking the steps that are necessary to do to get public
And
financing
so, in
funds.
fact, there's a number of people who have filed for public financing but haven't filed for office. So, you know, that's
Is it the financing or the issues that's driving this? I mean, is it the available financing, or do you think it's the issues that are on the street that are in our minds?
Or
in
the ambition of the individual to want to
Make
be in
change.
office,
Yeah.
come in here and try to become president of the United States one day, or whatever the case may be.
I mean, I think you're right, Don. I mean, I think it is partially this ambition. People want to serve. They want to put their thoughts into action, and this is a way to do it. And when you have these opportunities, you have to seize them.
I just want to build, you maybe facetiously mentioned this is a stepping stone to the presidency. I just want to point out Tom Perez started in the county council and is certainly potential presidential
Well,
candidate.
I'm not denying that either. And I think even closer to the presidency is a person who started off as a delegate from District 18 and is now our junior U.S. Senator. I think
Chris
there are a lot of
Mahal.
people in this
Yeah.
country who would
Yeah.
love to have him be
look at
president.
Sarah
of the United
Palin.
States.
Go back-
started out in the PTA.
Well, but she's not in Montgomery County.
Well, if we went backwards and somebody's watching this right now, a young person, somebody 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're thinking, I want to get involved, what would they do? How would they start to get involved? How could they get their name on a ballot?
Most of them call
We've
me.
got
Or me.
and me. We've got about 15 seconds left. Real quick. Good question. Good answer.
I think it's really exciting. Lots and lots of different people running. I think it behooves all of us to go on and find out more about these people and start when the debates start. I mean, this station will be having debates. We
and
need
leave
to
women
watch
voters
them.
and all this stuff. And to Steve's question, I think get involved locally, get involved in a campaign first, walk before you run, and see if you like it. You all, thank you so much
Thank you.
for this show.
Don.
This has been fantastic. Thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Weekend Review. I'm Don Moores, inviting you to join us next week at this very same time.